Hi, I'm Steven, and today I'm going to be taking a look at these, the Nike Zoom Fly 3, which are
just like the Vaporfly, except with 4% less marketing.
So I'm just going to give you my first impressions, and then I'm going to go for a test run on these, and at some point in the future I'll do a proper review. Now, just in case you're wondering, these are not the Nike Vaporfly 4% cheat shoes. Nike doesn't make any particularly vast claims about this model, although they use some of the things from those other shoes, so maybe they're slightly less controversial. But I am very interested to see what they're like to run in with that carbon plate in them. Although again, Nike just don't make the same claims about these shoes as they do with the Vaporflies. That might be because the Vaporflies cost over £120 more than these. These are around 100, 110. The Vaporflies are 230. So Nike's not going to turn around and say, yeah, you can just buy the cheaper shoes and they'll do the best. I mean, you can clearly see they are inspired by the Vaporfly design. Look at that crazy looking, weird looking sole on it. And they've got that speed point in the end, that point, that's where all your speed comes from. Now, the reason I bought these rather than the other options that I actually went in for boils down to actually one of value. I went in prepared to buy a pair of Hoka Rincons because my previous favourite running shoes were the Hoka Cliftons, got my marathon PB in them. Really, I just love running on roads in those really bouncy shoes. Or I was going to get the New Balance 1080, the New Balance Fresh Foam 1080 version 10. It was between those two, but then I went in and I'd completely changed my mind, and here's the reason. Both of those shoes have a lot of exposed foam right on the sole, and I found with the Hoka Cliftons and then a pair of Cavus that I had as well, that the foam got crushed and wore off quite quickly. So the effectiveness of the foam seemed to disappear really, really fast. It meant you were spending quite a bit of money on a pair of shoes that you only got a few months out of. These, on the other hand, have got rubber all over the bottom, and then it's got that carbon plate on the inside, and one of the claims that Hoka makes about their Carbon X shoes is that the plate inside it makes them more durable. And also Nike say something similar about these. So in theory, I should get more mileage out of these than out of the other two. That is actually what influenced my decision, more than hoping that that carbon plate is going to give me a 4% increase in performance. But, what do they actually like to run in? Let's find out.
Okay, very first impression. They're weird to walk in. I feel like I'm about an inch taller, and when I hit just walking, I can feel like my forefoot sinking down into the foam. Let's try running. I have not run on these yet. This is genuinely first run and go. Ooh, those are comfy. And bouncy. Bouncy. There is always a tendency when you're running a pair of new shoes for the first time to sort of over-exaggerate in your head how amazing they are. Maybe it's just for buyer's remorse. So that's why this is not a review, this is just the first impressions. I'll come back and review them at some point in the future. There's a nice flat bit here. Let me do some sprints. They're supposed to perform really well at speed and feel about best when you're running fast. So I'm just going to sprint along this road and see if I notice any major difference to my other shoes. It's about 50% effort, 60% effort, 70, 80, 90, 100. Woo! Well, I can definitely sprint in them. That was fun, felt really fast, easy, didn't feel sore underfoot, felt like there was much less of an impact than with my Hoka Cavus, which the foam on them has probably got crushed. So far, they remind me of what my Hoka Cliftons were like when I first got them, except maybe just not as spongy. Something I'm noticing is that once you get up to speed, they definitely push you forward. I feel like push you forward onto your toes more. I feel like I'm landing more mid-foot forward, or at least they're encouraging me to do that. Oh, see that? Giant puddle. Okay, most important test in any pair of new shoes is the first puddle test. They're still pretty clean. This is going to, I'm just gonna hit this puddle and not look back. Just on a little discussion point, I'd be interested to know what people think of the Nike Vaporfly 4% shoes with that carbon plate that have been so controversial. What do you think? Do you think they are cheating, that they're mechanical doping? Or do you think, well, shoes have always given you advantage. If you're gonna say you can't have any advantage from your shoes, you might as well run barefoot. I think I'm ready to give you my first impression after 5k into this run. The first thing is, what's very different about these is they don't feel like your feet are encased in shoes. You know, they don't feel like your feet are in the shoes. They feel almost like you're running on these platforms. And I think that's because they've just got such a really nice fit. I don't feel any kind of pressure at all anywhere on my foot. It just feels like I've got these soles stuck to the bottoms of my feet, which is quite nice to not feel that. And because they're so thin, they let the air in, and your feet just feel nice and airy. They're really comfy to run on. They're not as spongy as, at least I don't think they are based on my memory of them. They don't feel as spongy as my Hoka Cliftons did when I first got them. Possibly that's a carbon plate in the middle. You can, when you run, feel a little bit, of bouncy feedback. Well, that could just be in my head because I've read too much of their marketing spiel. But they do seem to, yeah, they do seem to have a little bit of a little springy bounciness in them. I do think they encourage you to land more forefoot, front foot. But really, only time will tell how these will actually perform. My biggest question is that, is the secret of these shoes that they are basically the Vaporflies except with 4% less marketing? Because if they are, that's you getting, you know, the benefits of a pair of Vaporflies for 110 pounds rather than 240, 250. So maybe that's the most interesting part of these. That's my first impression after only 5k. My view could completely change over the next 50 to 100 miles, but at that point I will come back and I will give you a more definitive review of the Nike Zoom Fly 3. Bye bye. If someone can recommend a pair of running shorts that don't cause chafing, I'd be very grateful. These terrible Sports Direct shorts are causing me to do what I call the patented Stevens anti-chafing John Wayne run.